I was born and raised in Taiwan and came to Canada about um, 12, 13 years ago. Um, the first place I came to was Oakville, Ontario. And then I went to school in Toronto at Ryerson for architecture. And I was always pretty like art oriented in school. And when I went to school for architecture, I picked up a camera for site pictures to put my renders onto these images that I take on site and, like analysis, like for basically for school, nothing more than that. And I started taking pictures of my friends, and one thing led to another. Like your friends are like really comfortable around you. So when you ask them to like pose a certain way, they're gonna be like, yeah, like this is for fun, like this is gonna be amazing, like I'm down to do whatever. So the images itself, even the relationship and the chemistry between like that the images come out to is very like self-explanatory. That there's this like there's good vibes going on between the two the two people involved. And then I just took pictures for fun, and one thing led to another. Artists started hitting me up, like musicians. um, Honestly, I've worked with so many people that's not even musicians. I just really love to like meet people here and there and hope to capture their story through my lens. um, but yeah, and then I started getting hit up by like bigger artists. And long story short, I'm here today talking to you, and I'm grateful for the entire journey. Personally, I can't say like I chose to be to photograph musicians. It was kind of just that the images that I produce are very in sync with what they're looking for.
Hmm.
Um, and honestly, the way I look at the community, I can't really speak on something I don't really know of, but it's mad love to anybody who's really trying to do it. And I get messages all the time on people asking me, yo, how do you get this effect? How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you get to where you're at? And I respond to all my DMs and just give people what I can give to help them. Who knows? Like
Yeah.
anybody could be somebody one day, right? So honestly, I appreciate anybody who's out here really trying to do photography and trying their best. Like I have no hate towards anybody. And in terms of how it ties into the music scene, I know there's a lot of really talented photographers in the city for sure. That's like that photographs musicians. But yeah, like honestly, all love for everybody. I don't really look at myself like as someone who's, because I feel like there's always more, right? Like as for anybody looking at their career, there's always more to accomplish. There's more to achieve. Um, so I just like to engage with people that show love to me, and honestly, anybody who's open to having. I know we're like stuck in like quarantine. Not really stuck is probably the wrong word, but we're in quarantine. I think like I really started to appreciate meaningful conversations, whether it's in person or just through social media. It's like such an interesting place to connect, right? Ups and downs for sure, as as it would be for a lot of creatives in general. But it's also the upside of it is we get to just experience a new atmosphere, a new perspective, right? When we go dive into the whole creative process. you have more time. That's for one, to reflect
Yeah, yeah.
and experiment on new things. There's no rush, right? For me, what I've learned in quarantine is like really taking my time with my craft.
That's
I still
big.
put out work, but like really taking the time, really focusing on that, because at the end of the day, you can't create good art if you're not really taking care of yourself, right? Like I said, it's ups and downs, but you just have to look at the highlights and the lowlights, and really push through it and take what you can from each categories and go further, right? For me, I haven't been working with, obviously it's quarantine, there's not, I can't really work with people that often, if not like barely. Um, but when I do shoots, I try to, practice like social distance shoots. People do that, and it's like just trying to be as careful as I can be, because I care about my family members and my friends' family members and everything. Um, but yeah, it's been it's been good. I would say good, just good overall. I've been hearing a lot of people like, quarantine? What? I've been quarantining. Well, because I'm just like around a lot of creatives. I hear that around creatives. So I don't know, automatically I just think like, oh, a lot of people who are creating, doing music or whatever, they've been doing this process before it was even a thing. Just working on their craft, taking the time, being in solitude. Um, yeah, all that. I've been hearing that a lot. Even the noise that you were talking about, it's like those are the times that you kind of peel back and focus on your other things, right? Other things and other aspects in life. I don't know if there is one mood that's like my favorite, because I try to capture everything. I try to capture everything in my like in the extent that I can go towards. Um, but from what I've heard from people, it's more like, I guess there's a little bit of grief. There's a little bit of like, relationship aspect. And some of them is being like bittersweet. Sometimes be like, really interesting and just cool in general. Um, but yeah, like I don't know if there is a favorite mood that I like to capture. Um, I just like to capture what the person is to me when I interact with them, and
Mm,
having a part of me in the images as well, because like in the end of the day, like most of them is a concept that I am a part of, right?
right.
That I've helped put into the result of. At the moment, I really like the
Okay.
color green. It's refreshing. I think it's refreshing to me. Like when I see green, green is like it's also associated with growth, right? Being in peace overall. I really like that color. Even if I add it in like in a little accent of it in an image, I really like that. People can really see that. Some people have told me like, "Oh, there's green accents in your images, like even in the shadows, in the, like." And I was like, "Okay, like that's really cool to know." Um, but I think my images have a lot of different colors. Um, or I try to make it as colorful as it can be. No, I don't think
No?
I watch a lot of movies though. I do watch a lot of
Mm,
movies. Some good ones, some bad ones. Sometimes I get inspired though, off of like a frame. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Um let me take the screenshot and use this as a reference for the future. If it's just like a color or a pose or something like that, I'm more inspired by. I know this might come off corny, but I'm inspired by life in general. Like I could really just even based off of our conversation right now, I could be like, wow, the color on your wall right now inspires me to do a a new series in that color, right? Or in a conversation that we're talking about, I was talking about green, uh, peace, mindfulness. I could be like, oh, I want to do a new shoot about that. I would say take your time. Take your time with your craft. Have the right intention when you based on like what you want to shoot, and having the right intention is so crucial to your expression in the end of the day. Yeah, I think that sums it up. And just keep going. Keep I know this is everybody says, "Oh, keep trying, keep going." Um, that's what I did personally, and eventually I um, learned and I developed. Um, I can't even really say that I have a particular style, but I got to where I am with that rule. Thanks for having me. Like, man, like I appreciate this all the time. Like when people hit me up to do interviews, I'm like, yo, honestly, I'm so nervous. Like when I do interviews, I'm like, like I'm like a robot. I'm like don't know what to say. I just repeat the same thing. But I think I'm learning that having a conversation is more important than being at the interview itself.